My name is Louw Claassens. I work for the Knysna Basin Project. We're a teeny tiny NGO based in Knysna. My background is marine biology and I study the little Knysna seahorse specifically. Over the past 5 years we've done quite a bit of research on this endangered seahorse species. Come inside! There's stuff!
I met Louw through a mutual friend on one of the first weekends after we arrived in Knysna. They are super active in the area, and aside from doing research, they are often involved in beach cleanups, talks and educational activities. Knowing what work they do, I thought it would be a great idea to chat to them and get clarity on this temporary high tide flooding we experienced in Knysna. But first, a little bit more about the Knysna Seahorse.
Seahorses. Okay, so seahorses all belong to a family called Cygnacidae because their little snout looks like a straw, so they've got a fused jaw. So the seahorses, the pipefish, the little straight seahorse, and sea dragons are all part of that family. The male is the guy that gives birth, so he's got a little pouchy like a kangaroo. Super cool. And everyone in that family does that. And we in South Africa, in Knysna, have one of only 2 seahorse species in the world that is endangered. So they are only found in the Knysna estuary, in Swartvlei, and in Keurboom's estuary. And then an additional extra fun fact number 4 is that South Africa is home to the only critically endangered pipefish in the whole world. And this little guy is only found in a couple of estuaries on the east coast near Kenton-on-Sea.
Following the spring high tide of this week, people went crazy with some photos that were shared. And I'm here today with Ntombi, and we're going to discuss exactly what happened and look at a few stats also just to try and understand it better. So who you are, just a little introduction.
Alright, so my name is Ntombi and I am the water quality analyst from the Knysna Basin Project. So I arrived here in April and I've basically been looking at like all the most of the stormwater in Knysna. With this week's one, there was a number of things that actually contributed to it. So firstly, because it was a spring high tide, and then secondly was because of the strong winds. Like it was just extremely strong winds, and then of course with the direction that the wind was blowing as well. This time the winds were southerly winds. So Knysna is built on the northern parts of the estuary, and we know that winds are named according to the direction in which they come. So if they come from the south, it means that they are blowing north. So we had a lot of like strong wind blowing water straight to actually where we are. If the direction of the wind was different, we wouldn't have had the flooding as much as we had it this time. But because mostly of the strong wind pushing the direction to where we are. The concerns, I think we should have them all the time. Mostly because like our stormwater drains, they all discharge into the estuary anyways. It's just that I think the interesting thing that happened with this flooding was the fact that people actually became aware of it. So we have a lot of like pollution that we are constantly either putting into our stormwater drains. And so now with this event, I think that people could actually see that like there's literally a connection between our stormwater drains and our estuary, and we really should be mindful of what we put in our stormwater drains because evidently it ends up in the estuary.
Difficult to say if it's increasing over time. For a spring high tide, there's one section on Knysna Lower Central that floods often, and that's because Knysna town is built on a floodplain. So excessively high spring high tides will result in flooding. But the lower half of town, I can't remember.
So what we saw this week was pretty impressive. I mean, you haven't seen it that bad.
Cool. It was super cool. I love it because it reminds you that you live on a tidal system, which is beautiful. I haven't seen it that bad before here, but I'm a newbie to Knysna. I've only been here like 5 years.
I'm Nina de Villiers. I'm from Rhodes University and I'm doing my MSc. Working with the Knysna Basin Project, looking at artificial structures compared to natural habitat. I'm specifically looking at fish species and invertebrate species in the Keurboom's estuary. Last year, September, there was flooding, but that was also because of rainwater that kind of came in with a spring high tide. So it was also pretty high and flooded by the water waste treatment works, the road there, and Lowry Park. But yeah, I haven't seen it this high ever. It's pretty intense. It's cool to see that, you know, we're literally right on the edge of the coast, and this is what the ocean does. It's coming.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the signs you put on the stormwater drains?
We have there are signs that were put up by honorary rangers on the stormwater drains, basically saying that the sea starts here. Now, I don't think anybody before then could actually visualize what was meant by that, and I think that was the incredible thing that this week's flooding actually did, was that everyone could see their stormwater drains flooded with estuary water, which means that if the estuary can reach here, then we are also reaching the estuary from the other direction.
So what people don't realize with spring high tides, the height of the tide varies over time. So it's not always a set difference in height. And that varies over time and is predicted by hydrological models. So sometimes the tide is just going to be higher. And this past week, we had a lot of wind, we had different environmental conditions, and that will push the tide up. So it's a very much a natural kind of a thing that happens.
And fun to watch.
And super cool. I love it. Yeah.
Lines going up is our wind speed. So I did a before situation so that you can see what happens when there's mild wind and what happens when there's strong winds. So on the 24th we had some pretty mild winds, and then this is what happened now on the 28th, which was Monday. The strong winds coincided with the high tide, and that is why like the flooding actually occurred. And these strong winds that we are seeing here are coming from the south, blowing towards the north, and with Knysna being built on the northern side of the estuary. So all of that wind was coming in our direction with the tides.
Where do you get the statistics from? Where do you get the information for the graphs?
Okay, so the Knysna Basin Project has a program known as KEMP, which is the Knysna Estuary Monitoring Program. So one of our stations, which is in Teeson Island at the Sandparks Jetty, has a weather station, and it is it's on a real-time monitoring basis. So we are constantly getting readings basically every hour. Well, the actual program itself takes reading every 15 minutes, and then it just averages them out for us every hour. So that is how we get the data. I monitor it on the website on a daily basis. So this helps us to see like if there's anything alarming that happens, because we do know like what should be like our standard reading. If anything is out of range from what we normally get, then we know, then we can respond quickly to whatever it is the problem at that moment.
And if you say we, what does that mean?
Well, the Knysna Basin Project.
So it's you guys.
Yes, it would just be us. Even though I am the only person with water quality, but the rest of the team is very hands-on with assistance on like all the time. People are affected by the environment simply because we live in it, and water is basically around us like all the time, and we also have to drink it, we swim in it, and we do so much in it. And so to see just how important water quality is for me, I think that is the one thing that the Knysna Basin Project has taught me, like the importance of water. I think it's an individual responsibility as well. The reason why your home is clean is because you keep it clean, you know, you sweep and you do all that and such. And then when it comes to the environments, the same practice is not necessarily applied. So people just think that the environment will keep itself clean, which is of course false. And I think that all of us do have a role to play in keeping the environment clean.
If people are interested in knowing what the tides are going to do, where can they find information?
So it's easy to go online, but those kind of estimates aren't always that accurate. So our Navy, yes, we have a Navy in Simonstown, have a hydrographical kind of unit, and they have data loggers in the estuary where you can download a table like this, and it gives you the time of the day, when the sun rises and the sun sets, and it gives you the level of the tide. So how high or low the tide's going to be when it's full moon or new moon, or, you know, neap tides. What's provided here is from a data logger that is located at Teeson Jetty. So for Knysna people, this is quite nifty. It's quite helpful. So email the Navy, it's Sanho, Sanho. But if you email them, they can also send it to you. Or go to Sandparks. They also print it out. This is accurate.
Thank you so much to the Knysna Basin Project and everybody there, Louw and the rest of the team. I really appreciate you guys taking time out and explaining what happened. If anybody feels inspired or want to know more of what they do, or maybe get involved with donations or sponsoring to keep this non-profit going, you can visit their website and you can also contact them via Facebook. So join the Facebook page, see what they're up to, and join some of their talks, or just get involved.
All the noise and all the chaos, I only want to hear the sound of the earth. I only want to feel the ground underneath.
And next up, we're not sure if we're going or staying, but it's definitely an emotional roller coaster. So please be sure to join next week as we share a little bit more of our boat life.
Buildings into mountains, streams instead of fountains. Take all the gray and turn